want, and you can start with whichever books you want, like picture books, chapter. Okay.
Yeah.
Gone.
I mean, I could talk about picture books all day long, but I kind of brought a few favorite authors and a few favorite illustrators because that's how the world crumbles. So
I love that.
I think Patricia Polacco was my first, like, when I was in college, I read this book, Thank You, Mr. Falker. And this is when I was doing my teaching training. So of course, this is like the teacher everyone wants to be, right? The one who changes lives. But all of her books are, I joke all the time, they're like chapter books. They're picture books, but they're like chapter books. There's so much text in them. So they make a great older grade read aloud, but like, as far as like snuggling up with your kids, they're kind of a tricky, they're not one to read with young kids, but there's as like a mom and as an adult, like they are picture books that feed my soul. So
me too. I think a good picture book should be for adults.
I think so too. They should. And I think the best picture books are, right? And then I also think, I say this all the time on my page, but when it comes to picture books, like you judge that book by its cover, right? Because an illustration is so important to the way a picture book functions. Those illustrations should be part of the storytelling. And so I picked a few of my favorite illustrators. One of my very favorite is Marla Frazee. So she did this one this year with Mac Barnett, who's a fantastic author. He could go in my favorite authors too. But her illustrations just like speak volumes. I'll just kind of hold that up.
Yeah.
They're so pretty. This one's all in black and white. I fell in love with her Christmas book.
Did she do a baby one? Did she do like all
she
the
does have a baby one, all the babies. And then
yes.
She does like the farmer and the clown. It's a word series. And then her Christmas picture book is Santa, the world's #1 toy expert. And it is my favorite. It has the cutest. Santa has Post-it notes that he takes for all the kids. And then he files them in little teeny tiny Post-it note filing cabinets. And he's always in like shorts with suspenders, and his shorts change with the seasons through the book. So you can see how the year progresses as he plans. It is the cutest Christmas book.
Oh, that is cute.
I also brought David Roberts, who you'll recognize from the Imagineers series. Imagineers, is that the right word? Rosie Revere,
but like Rosie Revere, engineer, and
Ada Twist, scientist, they're all right here.
Yeah.
His illustrations are so fun, and I always joke that I wish that I could like have the clothes. Like Ada Twist's mom has the cutest outfits. I'm like, I want to be. But
I wish I looked like that every day.
Right? They're so great and so expressive. And I just like look at these outfits. They're so great.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. I love his illustrations. And then I brought a David Litchfield.
Yes.
He does things with light that just boggle. I am not an artistic. I don't draw things. Like
I love it.
His light in his books is fantastic. And he just did a middle grade book with the author of Wicked.
Oh,
I can't think of his name right now.
On the spot. Yeah.
Yep. But
I actually didn't learn about him until Eliana told me about him about a year ago.
Oh, really?
I checked out all of his books, but she really likes.
They're beautiful. And he just did a middle grade chapter book called oh my gosh, I'm not going to remember. Watercress. Watercress is what it's called. And it's about a bunny. And the illustrations in it are phenomenal. It's beautiful. And then
he did all of it. So he wrote the book. It's a chapter book, and did the pictures.
No, right? So David Litchfield illustrated it, and it's written by the author from Wicked, who wrote Wicked.
Oh, that's right. You told me.
He wrote a kid's book. Why can I not think of his name? I can like see it in my head. But anyway, and then one of my other favorite illustrators is Dan Santat. So I brought Lift.
We just read that last night.
Yeah, and I'm like, if you know me, like I love secret covers, are one of my very favorite things I talk about all the time on my Instagram. And Dan Santat has some phenomenal ones.
I've only checked it out from the library, so I can't.
And then you can't peek them.
No, I mean I do. I sometimes like kind of like ruin the tape, but can I?
My kids do it this way from the library, like look. Yeah. But he has some great secret covers, but I love his illustrations. He wrote Beagle, The Adventures of Beagle, which won a Caldecott, and he just this year started releasing graphic novels. And his first graphic novel, The Aquanaut, just came out, and it's phenomenal. My kids love it. It takes place in San Diego. And it is about a girl whose dad is a marine biologist who starts, it's called like Aqualand, but it's like SeaWorld. And he dies on an expedition, the dad does, and his suit like sinks to the bottom of the ocean, and it is filled with sea creatures, and they come out of the ocean. They're like in the suit,
Oh,
scuba diving suit,
cute.
and they come out of the ocean and find her, and they kind of work together to save the animals in this.
Wow.
It's really a cool book. I mean, it has a little bit of like
Fantastic.
some emotional darkness in there with the death of her dad and everything, but my kids have all loved it too. My favorite type of picture book is a picture book biography, which I feel like in the last few years have really exploded. And what I love about them is, number one, they're fun for grownups, get really interested in them, right? Because it's people that we know about or want to learn about. But I love, they especially appeal to that like older group of kids who think that they're too big for picture books. And sorry that just made a noise. But they think they're too big for picture books. And then they find these ways to connect with people that they're learning about, or they're great for reading in school. I currently have them on my bookshelf in my playroom. So I just grabbed one, but this one is called Pocket Full of Colors. And it's about Mary Blair, which is one of the first female artists at Disney. And you would recognize her work from It's a Small World most famously.
And this is actually part of our Battle of the Books at the library.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
How fun. So
It is. I need to check it
beautiful.
out. Like I've seen it. I have not yet checked it out, but I love already all the color. And so
the illustrations are so pretty, and they're kind of done in like her style, which is fun to learn about her and all that. But it kind of talks about her journey through connecting with Walt and how he kind of pioneered her work and made room for her, which is really cool.
Cool. Yeah.
And then two of my favorite picture book authors. I picked Anne Winter. She's new, but this book is phenomenal. Her board books are so cute and fun. And she has some new stuff coming out that I'm really excited about. So Anne Winter, This is Everybody in the Red Brick Building, which is one of the funnest read alouds. You can, my kids are obsessed with that one. And then if you follow me on Instagram, this is no surprise, but I brought my Pumphrey Brother books. They are my favorite author illustrator duo. They're brothers. And their books are just phenomenal. What I love about The Old Truck, which is their first book, and obviously the first place that I fell in love with their work, is that it's about a farmer she's a Black female farmer. And it is just about her growing up on the farm and having big dreams. And then, so she dares to dream these dreams. And then she realizes, like, you could see her cute old truck becomes a submarine. It becomes a spaceship. And then, the old truck gets run down and she has to fix it. And so it's like her determination. And I just adore, I have talked to them so many times about this, but I adore that it gives my kids every time. This is a book they want to read on repeat all the time, because it's a great kids book. But it also, while they're doing that, it reinforces new gender stereotypes and new racial stereotypes that, it shows them things that we're not used to seeing, and it just reinforces that is how the actual world is, which I love. And then
I love that too. And I haven't read that one yet, but I was going to say The Old Truck, the first time I found it, was in a literati box. So it was a curated that they sent, and my son, like, it was in this era of car obsession, like the movie Cars.
That's why I bought it.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, a new truck
all
book.
The cars, all the trucks. Exactly. And then, I loved it too. I loved how creative the woman was in the book. And I loved that it was this old and dear relic almost to her, like by the end. So I have good connections with that book too, but I need to check out this one. Go ahead. Okay.
Sorry. So this one's called Somewhere in the Bayou. You're totally fine. And it is reminiscent of, if you've read I Want My Hat Back by John Klassen. So it has a little bit of a dark humor type of situation, but like my kids giggle in this book like no other, because it's about these animals are crossing a log and they keep falling off and being eaten, and it gets like the last one, it tries to figure out how to get across the log, but it's like they fall off, it's like chomp, and then it just like goes to the next character. It's really, really cute and funny, but
kids would like that.
Yeah, it's real funny. So it's and the illustrations, so they do all their illustrations are stamps. And so they're really fun. And if you go to their Instagram page, they show how they make them, and it's really quite fascinating. They have the old truck, and then they have the old boat, and the old boat, they did all of their stamps made out of recycled like they bought a dishwasher and like cut it apart and melted it down and made stamps out of all the old parts. It's so cool. So all of their stamps
really
from that
creative.
book. Yeah. And that book is about like, you know, taking care of our world and cleaning up after ourselves. So it was a really cool way to like reinforce that. Graphic novels are huge now. And I think that that is something new, especially for parents, because when we hear graphic novel, we think, number one, I love when people think graphic novel is something inappropriate.
Because it's graphic.
Because it's graphic. That's kind of my favorite. They're like, wait, and I'm like, no, like as in pictures. And there are so many graphic novels out there that have just really changed the world of kids lit. And I love because I think we automatically assume that they are superheroes or comic books, but they are just really turning over a new leaf right now. This is one that we cannot get enough of our house. My 4-year-old
hilarious,
obsessed with Cranky Chicken. Like, how cute is he? His best friend's a worm. Chicken with a best friend who is a worm.
Gotta love
hilarious it. Hilarious and so cute. And then I grabbed The Runaway Princess, which I talk about on my page sometimes. This one is fun because if you're from my generation, you loved the Choose Your Own Adventure books.
Yes.
And this book is interactive like that. Like I will show you a quick page. Like she is running through the forest from a wolf. And it says in it like, dear reader, Robin needs you to help her escape from the wolf clutches. Close the book, shake it up and down 3 times, and then turn to the next page. So you have
love that. The interactive.
Yeah. And you shake it and then all of the trees fall down and block the wolf's path so that she can get through. So it's really fun and cute.
And who's the author on that?
I do not know how to say his last name. It's Johan.
Oh yeah. Wow. Okay. I'm going to write it down.
Yep. I was like, I'm not sure what sound that I makes with the umlaut on top of it. So
I'm not even going to attempt that.
Yeah. Troi with an umlaut, A-N.
Brownsky, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how to say that. I've looked it up before, but I couldn't find anyone to pronounce it for me. So
isn't that the worst?
Phenomenal work. Phenomenal work. And then what I really love is that a lot of so I'm a historical fiction lover. I know you are too.
Yes.
But they have kind of started dipping their toe in the water of historical fiction graphic novels, which I love. This one is not historical fiction. It's actually historical, this person's story. But
there's a good one.
Yeah, this book, my kids read this book and we had so many, we did this one as a family book club, but we had so many amazing conversations in this book about refugees and what that looks like from their point of view and how we can help and what kind of differences we can make. And it is just, it's not a story you would expect to be told through a graphic novel. And it's just phenomenal. So that's,
I'll be honest, that is so cool that you A, have a family book club and B, discussed it. I mean, like I mentioned, my oldest, I feel like now we could talk about it. When I read it, I had to read it in phases because of how heavy it was.
It's heavy. Yeah. It is. We read it that one month and it was really fun actually, because we got my husband to join in, which he likes to read, but he does not read. I mean, he works way more than any of us. So he doesn't have a lot of reading time. Right. He doesn't read voraciously. And so it was fun to get him. It was his first graphic novel ever. And it was fun to get him in there reading it. And we just had some really good talks about it. And it was during, I think we read it in 2021. Or 2020. So there was a lot going on locally about refugees, and, you know, all the things going on. So it was just a really cool research, or not research, but
text to world. I mean,
that's a big, really was. And it was when they found out that the author was him, they were like, oh my gosh. And it was really cool to connect with them about that. So I think that graphic novels get sometimes overlooked and there's so much good there. Okay. And last but not least, I brought some middle grade books. One of my favorite things about being a mom and having readers is watching them go from me choosing their books for them to seeing what they choose and read on their own, which I'm never going to read aloud a Minecraft book, but like, good for you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad you're reading it, but it's been fun to watch them kind of like, my son loves fantasy adventure, like Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, all of the Rick Riordan universe. I'm always like,
show him my stories from yesterday. We went to a Lego convention here and someone did Harry Potter, like all the scenes,
oh cool,
all the Lego, all the huge castle, the grandpa, You'll have to show him that. It
That's
was
amazing.
so fun. And
Yeah.
I geeked out. I have all the minifigs up here on my desk.
I love it. Yeah.
There's Hagrid wishing you well with his pink umbrella.
His pink umbrella.
Like 3 versions of Harry.
Yeah, it's been really fun. So fantasy is, I read some fantasy, but not a ton of fantasy. So it's been fun as because my kids, we do, during the summertime, we read one read aloud to all of them.
Okay.
But during the school year, we break it in. They each have their own read aloud, and my husband reads to 2 and I read to 2, and then we swap. And they get to pick those books. So sometimes I'm reading books that I wouldn't usually pick up, and it's been really fun to, like, my son loves fantasy adventure. My daughter loves mysteries and like spy books, which is so not I am a worrier in general, so I'm like, those kind of stress me out, but she loves them.
So has she done like sorry, I just thought of this, has she done like Sherlock Holmes, Nancy Drew, or is she kind of like,
she loves Nancy Drew? She's never done Sherlock Holmes. There
might be a little older, right? That might
there is a kid's book. Oh shoot, I'm gonna forget. She's read the first Enola Holmes book, but there's also another one that's about it's Sherlock Holmes it's a girl. It's like it's almost like a fractured fairy tale. What is it called? I have it up on the shelf. But
I've seen it too, and
then her best friend is a boy named Watson, and they solve mysteries together. And I cannot think of the title off the top of my head. So she loves that. She loves anything Stuart Gibbs. So Spy School, Fun Jungle series, any of those. And then her newest favorite are these. I brought the Charlie Thorne books. So she is a girl, FBI espionage. Ooh, really fun. So this is I think this is the first one. Yeah, this is the first one. There's 3 now. The third one just came out, but it's fun. So it says Charlie Thorne's a genius. Charlie Thorne's a thief. Charlie Thorne isn't old enough to drive, but now it's up to her to save the world. So it's like a really fun. She loves these.
Sound really fun.
Yeah. So, and then we all love together. We have read a lot of Kelly Yang's books, which again, we did front desk as a family book club too, which was interesting again to talk about. What is really fun about Kelly Yang's books is that she is from where we're from. So my kids love to read. What
she writes is like what she like legit has experienced. And
yeah. And it was really interesting. We read New From Here, which is her latest title until her new one comes out.
It's really cool. She's just like cranking them out.
She is cranking them out, but it is like her experience coming to the United States during COVID without her husband to bring her kids here during the pandemic. But what was really fascinating about it is that it was such a great example of lived experience, because we were in California during the pandemic, just a few hours from where she was. And our experience was so different than hers, merely based on race and where we were from. And so that was such a cool book to read with my kids and like look at the differences here. It's just a great way to talk about that. But then, so I brought one book that we just have I read with my son, and I am just chomping at the bit for the second one, which this is really funny. So I am so privileged that I get publishers send me books before they come out to read and look at. And this is one of those. And we finished it. And my son was like, when is the second one? We have to get the second one. And I was like, well, this one's doesn't come out until next month. The second one's going to be a minute. So it is Skandar the Unicorn Thief, which I have talked about on my page. When you hear the title, you kind of automatically assume that it's like unicorn fantasy, which it is. But the unicorns in this are bloodthirsty, like vicious. I'm trying to think how they say it, but the unicorns fight in sky battles, and you have to be chosen to be paired with a unicorn. And you like, when you're paired with them, you put your hand on their egg, and their unicorn horns like stabs through your hand if they've chosen you, and then you guys are like bonded for life. It is like this deep, crazy.
It's not like a
it is not that
unicorn.
No, it is not
unicorn or stuffed unicorn.
No, it is like flipping unicorns on their heads.
I kind of like it though. I've always loved unicorns and dragons, so I think I would really like it actually.
You would like it. So I read it and I was like, wow, this is doing some stuff for unicorns and making them like super rad for older kids, you know? So, but what is really cool about it is it addresses some like his best friend in this has anxiety, and so she has panic attacks. And I thought this was such a cool way to introduce that into a story and how that affects their friendship, because my kids do have friends that deal with stuff like this, and how to support them, which is really cool. And then one thing I also really love about this, I need to get on and do like a spiel on Instagram about this book, because it's like in Harry Potter, you get divided into houses essentially, well, like groups. So there's like, they're elemental groups. So there's like earth, wind, fire, water, but their houses that they live in are made of one of each of the groups. They're in groups of 4 because you need all of the elements to be a full. So rather than divide you by what your strengths are, it brings the strengths together to work together. And I thought that was
I love that.
Kind of flipping that on its head, because I feel like in most fantasy books you see, I mean, Percy Jackson's the same way. They're divided into houses.
Thinking Percy Jackson, that sounds a little similar, because like he wouldn't, for his personality, have gotten matched up with Annabeth. Yeah, but like I like that it brings that up with their strengths, that they have to work together and fight like enemy. Yeah, cool.
So I thought that was really cool. And then my all-time, I have one more book and then I will stop because I could do this all day, but my all-time favorite kids lit author is Kate DiCamillo.
Oh yes.
I brought Tale of Despereaux, but my actual favorite by hers is The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane.
I read that to my 4th graders every year.
That so book, I cannot get it through that book without crying. Actually, most of her books I cry in, but
I know. Yeah, she's got the back corner here. I've got several of her chapter books up there though. And Winn-Dixie. Oh yeah, Winn-Dixie's another one makes me cry. Yeah.
And I mean, fun too. Mercy Watson, she's great. There's a Mercy Watson Christmas book coming out this year, and I
saw that. My son loves those.
But she has such a gift with approaching heavy subjects at a kid's level that is not overwhelming. I read Flora and Ulysses with my 7-year-old this year.
I'm doing a packet on it right now for Teachers Pay Teachers.
Oh, it's so great. I love that book. And it's been really fun to kind of explore different topics with them using her books. But I just think her books are books that I'm like, you should read this as a grown-up. Like, I know it's about a mouse and a princess, but like, you should read it because there's a whole thing there. There's so much more to it.
And I finished a packet for that on Teachers Pay Teachers earlier this year, right after my daughter was born. But there's so many layers. There's so, like, to each character, why the king is the way he is when the queen dies, and why he makes the kingdom just band soup and all. Yeah, it's just so fascinating.
Well, and what I love is that when
Dungeons.
you have kids that read this. Like, I've read this out loud to all of my kids, and some of them have read it and been like, that was cute. And then I have one of my third is like, she was just born oozing empathy for other people. And so for her to read this book, she was like crying with me at parts and was like, that dad must be so sad to make it so nobody can eat soup because of his, like, she just like,
she absorbs every perspective. Yeah,
she really does. And so it's been so interesting to read with each of my kids and kind of see how they feel things differently, which again, that connection translates into real life, because I know that like my third, when she deals with stuff like bullying at school, it's going to hit on a different level than my older, who can just kind of let it roll off his back, and when you see them connect with certain characters and empathize with certain characters and learn from them, it translates into real life. It really does. And I feel like it makes me a better parent because I know already how they react to certain things, so I think reading does a lot. I mean, of course it does a lot educationally, but emotionally, I think it does a ton for that as well.
And I'm with you 100% on that. I feel like and I'm so sad about this. It is a regret that I will share with people because I want them to avoid it. I feel like I only really started reading social and emotional learning type books my last year of teaching with my students. And I regret that. I lament it so much. Some of my students are now juniors or seniors in high school. So they have found me on Facebook or Instagram and connected with me. And I love hearing what they're doing and the things they're like going on in their lives. But I love that a lot of them still remember that I read The Mysterious Benedict Society out loud to them. I love that book. And then Disney came out with a show, and I'm like, so that packet on Teachers Pay Teachers, man, you better believe that sold like hotcakes. So funny. I'm like, wow, I wish I had this predicting power to know what else Disney's going to make a show out of.
I was like, the crossover is what's coming next.
Okay, maybe I need to get going on that. But oh my gosh, like I say to you, I just wish I had more, and it's not time, educators don't have time, but like, it's just more insight into how those social and emotional books would have helped them, because I've read them and I read them with my son and my daughter like mad.
Yep.
And I don't like say, oh, we're going to learn about feelings today, like a preschool type lesson, but like we sit down and we talk through these books. It's just such a good talking point, like you say. And so like, I just wish that years ago that I had realized how important those books were,
Well, and what's wild too is how many more we've all had that realization, right? So there's so many more available now than there were when I was teaching school. Like so many more, they weren't there. I mean, like we had the kissing hand, but like other than that, we didn't have a ton that were really teaching those lessons. And now I feel like there's such a treasure trove of resources in the SEL world, and there's more coming out all the time. And I feel like they are such a wonderful resource for teachers and parents to help kids process things, or see someone else process things. And I say all the time, like I wish more grown-ups read picture books.
Oh yeah.
Because we could have all benefited from being read those SEL books when we were little, right? The world would be a different place. But I also say all the time, books should be windows and they should be mirrors. You should be able to look at yourself, but you should also be able to look out at the world and see things that you don't experience on a regular basis to help expand those worldviews. Because if we're being honest, like I can't expose my kids to all the wonderful ethnicities and beautiful cultures in this world like I would love to. Like, do I wish we could hop on a plane and visit everywhere? Absolutely. But I can't. But so many books can bring those beautiful cultures into our home, which is so important.
I agree. I love that. Like one of the, it's called like All the Days of the Year, or Days We Slept. Oh my gosh.
Our favorite, all the favorite days.
Yes. That spurred such a fascinating conversation with my son, because so we're in Utah and there is some diversity. A lot of it is like more Hispanic and Latino in general, like at the school and the community that we're in. But I love that it brought up Diwali, and it brought up Jewish holidays, and it brought up, so it was just cool because when I taught in Salt Lake, and I was in inner city a lot of the time. So I actually, for me, got to experience so much being right there in the heart. But now we're down like further south in Utah, and it's not as diverse here. But I love when you get a book that gives you the opportunity to delve into those things more, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Really cool.
You can't hop on a plane. I mean, you'd love to, but then
I wish
the airfare is way too expensive, and the time that it takes to travel, right? So
I know we always joke, like, if only we were independently wealthy and could just jobs.
Oh yeah, it'd be so great. Yeah, be the dream. So to kind of wrap up today, what are some tips, and they can just be a couple, that you would share with anyone wanting to integrate more literacy into their home, and at any level? Maybe it's early literacy, maybe it's where you're at right now with some teenagers. Tips for sharing and integrating literacy more in the home.
Yeah. So my number one tip I always say is stop, drop, and read. If a kid brings you a book and asks you to read it, stop what you're doing and read it, because number one, it shows them that they're a priority to you. And I know that, like, obviously you're on a Zoom call for work. That's not possible, but like, I always joke that like 9 times out of 10, it probably is possible. You can stop unloading the dishwasher for 2 seconds to read a book. It doesn't take as long as you think it does, but it sets a big precedence and a focus there. Number 2, and that's where my name comes from, keep a book out. The more books you have around your home, the more likely it is that a kid's going to pick them up. And I always joke, like, a 99-cent store basket with books put in the right location can change your reading. I laugh because my kids read a lot, but I happened to move. I had like a bench at the end of my bed, and I moved it out into the hallway, really just because I was like rearranging some stuff in my room. I needed out of the way. And when I came out, my kids were sitting on it reading a book, and I was like, okay. And so I've just left it out there, and I put a basket of books by it, and my kids sit in that little corner of the hallway all the time and read a book. And it's just like, sometimes you just got to move stuff around.
Yeah.
But my other biggest tip, especially with older readers, is come to them. Like, you find what they are passionate about. All the time, it's like, all my son wants to do is play video games. And I'm like, you cannot tell me that if you have a Minecraft obsessed preteen, that if you get a Minecraft World magazine and leave it on the table, that they're not going to pick it up and read it. You know what I mean? They cannot just walk past it. It's impossible. It calls to them. And what's really cool, if you really want to go the extra mile, is read it first and then be like, hey, I saw this today on page 27. It talks about how to build an island. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, number one, like you are taking an interest in what they're interested in.
Right.
But number two, like they're going to pick it up and read it. So I always say, like, if you have a kid who is really struggling to connect with the book, like think outside the box. There's other forms of reading than just picking up a book. There's magazines, there's audiobooks, there's graphic novels, there's, any number of things. And just taking that little extra step to really connect with them where they're at. Yes. And giving them an opportunity to fall in love with something new is just
I love that. And I think, like, I've always loved your advice about that. And we do keep books out. We've gotten some more shelves, but the kids each have like a bookshelf in their room, in their closet. And I feel like even like my son knows where his books are. Like when we did Literati, he'd get the stickers and say, this book belongs to, and just love that ownership of a book. They always get mad when there's a library book they love and they can't put a sticker in it, or they're like, Mom, why don't we own it? I'm like, hey, I've got a list. It's going on the list. Because I always do books for birthdays, books for Christmas, and books for occasions. I mean, I don't always wait for something. If there's something we've just been dying to read, like Purple Crayon, then guess what? We're just, we're throwing it in. And I even had seen that like last night or sometime you had started or made a reel, like September really is the time to start getting Halloween books. It's not a joke. Like people do Halloween and they do it big. So if you want to get the books, start putting in your list now, right?
Well, like it takes a couple weeks to get them from other libraries and get them to your library, and then you got to check them out, and then you get them for 2 weeks. And I'm like, there's nothing worse than having a holiday book that your kids love that you don't own, requesting it, and then like getting a notification that it's ready in January. Like,
no, I know, and you're like, major crash and burn on that one,
right? And so I'm like, you guys, you have to start earlier than you think. And then I'm like, and then Christmas books is like start in October.
Like once you're done with the Halloween books, that is not an exaggeration. Like I will always
so long.
And I was gonna say I will always add a few more books to our Christmas collection, which my husband's like, why? Because we do the Advent like you've done. Wrap up the book, open a book or two a day. Sometimes I do two because just of the very different personalities my kids have. And then maybe when baby grows up, it'll be a third, but anyway, he's always like, we have enough to wrap and to do it. And, and I started wrapping them at the end of the year, like you had mentioned, doing too, because I'm like, it's so much to worry about in December. And now I have 2 December birthdays. So actually I'm done with the wrapping game by the time the birthdays and Christmas have happened. So anyway, I'm only telling people that because I want them to go see your reels. And I love that. I love Advents in general. Like we do the link to count down to their birthdays. I'm getting ready to do a birthday book reel for my daughter that her birthday's coming up. So it's always just, it can be really fun. But I love that you brought that up because I was like, I guess it's not too early for real. Some people have been like counting down to fall, and I like fall. I love summer though. And the stubborn in my heart, like since my son is half day kindergarten and it's still warm, I threw up the water slide, the inflatable water slide the first day of school, and had popsicles. And then I got on Instagram and I'm like, I'm doing an ice cream roundup. Summer is not over yet. But then when fall comes, I'm like full on, like I do like fall. I like summer and fall a lot. So I love that you added that tip.
Yes.
And I've taken that advice of yours. I only say that because my husband's like, oh, keep a book out. She's the reason like we have books out on the couch all the time. Like when I want to sit down to watch a movie with you and I have to move like 15 books. And I'm like, look,
guilty.
Okay, yep, it's Aimee. But I don't regret it. And I also because I'm still nursing baby, it's always nice to just literally have them there. So I have book baskets everywhere, all the places, bathroom, breakfast table, side of the couch, like I said, and the kids have a couple each in their room besides that bookshelf. But I do have a few of those front facing shelves I'm getting ready to put up in the girls' room. So there's going to be like some baby books in the nursery and then older sisters books on top. And I'm like, honey, it's just like amazing. I walk out, and especially my middle child, she'll flip. And I plant books, like you said, things she loves, unicorns, princesses, funny books. And she will just sit there and flip until I'm ready to read with her, or she'll just say, I already read this. Can you come read this to me? And I love how she said, I already read this.
Uh-huh.
Come read this to me. And she is eager to learn to read, which is cool because that kind of lights a fire under older brother's bum. He's not a reluctant reader, but he loves being read to. And he's still learning the sounds on letters of some.
Yeah.
Learning the sounds of some of the letters. So that is always a little bit of a challenge there at the beginning of learning to read. And he's doing it really well. But it's just so true that if you leave the books out and you pay attention to their interests, that is really going to help them get excited about reading and learning to read.
Yeah. Well, and I always say too, with older, especially with older kids, when you have older elementary, a lot of times you forget that because they know how to read by themselves, that like you should still be reading out loud to them. And so I would just encourage any parent, like if you think your kid's too old for a read aloud, they're not. Start a chapter book, read aloud with them. I read a statistic once from Scholastic that said, I don't know the exact number, so I'm totally paraphrasing here, but it was something like 13 or 12% of families still read to kids who still do chapter book read alouds with kids who are old enough to read on their own. But 75% of kids in that age category wish they still would.
Oh my gosh.
And it's because kids have that fond memory of, snuggling up and reading a book. And I will say from personal experience, that time is when my kids open up and want to talk about the day. It's not right after school when they come in and say how their day. It's always like, fine. It's not at the dinner table. It's when we get in bed. And of course, it's right before bedtime when they're supposed to be sleeping, but you got to take a deep breath. That's when they want to talk about it, and giving them that time that's one-on-one and gives them a time to open up. Sometimes we read 2 pages, sometimes we read a chapter, but if they want to talk about their day during that time, then I'm all for it. It opens up that door.
That's
so if you
perfect. And
if you have kids who you think are too old for a read aloud, they're not. Yep.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Aimee, you're amazing. And I would take you all day if I could, but I know your fam needs you, and my baby will probably be waking up here soon. So
yes, we took your whole nap.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I learned to just utilize those other nap times. And I'm sure my kids are itching for a read aloud actually as we speak.
Probably.
I love that one of my kiddos, I saw some books I was putting together for like a book match post, and Dough Knights and Dragons has always been a favorite of ours. So she came and brought it to me. I was like, snuggle me and read first thing this morning. I'm like, done. Like, you don't have to pull my arm. So anything else you would like to share? And I forgot that you have a blog, right? You do have a blog.
I do. It just recently launched. So it's there. It's keepabookout.com.
Okay.
I put my top 10 for the notes. My top 10 Halloween books are up yesterday as far as the ones that we read most often. I have an enormous Halloween book collection, but those are the 10 my kids ask for most.
That is so fun, because you know what? I was actually looking over your list, and we have a few that we share in common. Little Old Lady, Creepy Carrots, and those are so fun. But Boost Do, I never got to check out last year, and it was probably because I didn't get it reserved soon enough.
Well, it came out last year in like September, so it was brand new too.
That's right. It was, and I think I put in a purchase request at my library, and it never happened. So hopefully they did.
Yeah.
And I love it because it's a fractured fairy tale. Yeah.
Yep. Kind of. Goldilocks.
Yeah. Goldilocks.
Kind of. Yeah. Okay. It's cute.
And then your Instagram is also at Keep a Book Out.
I'm at Keep a Book Out across. So I'm at Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Keep a Book Out across the board.
Cool. That makes it easy for all
where you can find me.
And where I need to get on and do like book talk. What's funny is I quit TikTok because I was getting so distracted. And now I've had that problem with Instagram with Reels. So I'm like, no, I can do this. I just need to plan my stuff.
It's hard.
Browse a little and
it's hard.
Get off. Yeah.
Yep. It's hard.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Aimee.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah. My treat for sure. Anything else you wanted to add?
That's everything.
Just go read a book. Yeah, I love it. Okay. Have a great day, Aimee. We'll talk soon.
Talk to you later.
Bye.